This is all about Trump's new executive order, just more examples of him showing love and favoritism towards the big technocrats, the big tech bros. Trump defies GOP critics by signing controversial order threatening states over AI laws. A new executive order comes as a growing group of Republicans criticize Trump's staunch support of the tech industry's ambition for artificial intelligence. President Trump signed an executive order on Thursday directing the federal government to file lawsuits, can you believe it, against states that introduce regulations on AI technology deemed to undermine the global AI dominance of the United States, doubling down on the White House's industry-friendly approach to tech policy despite growing pushback from politicians in both the Democrat and Republican Party. The order directs the Justice Department to sue states if they try to introduce bills that they say contradict the policy of maintaining a, quote, minimally burdensome regulatory framework for AI. And legal experts have said that the tactic will face considerable court challenges. I believe there's already been lawsuits filed to try to stop this executive order. If they haven't yet, I thought I saw a couple headlines, but if it hasn't happened yet, you better believe it's going to happen, because they're saying that the Constitution gives states wide leeway to pass laws on issues not covered by federal legislation. And think about this. I mean, I know I'm beating a dead horse here. I don't like to beat animals, but I'm going to keep telling you guys, Trump is not a conservative. Trump is not a Republican. He doesn't give a shit about the Constitution. He doesn't give a shit about, small government, limited government, states' rights. That was always, we were told, the bastion of the right wing, right? Because the left, they tend to not care about states' rights, and they want a big, strong federal government. At least that's what we've been told. And here Trump is basically saying, we're going to sue any states that try to pass their own rules and do their own work on how they want to address AI. And it's the same tired argument that we've seen with 5G and other things, that we can't have a so-called patchwork of legislation. So if Illinois does their own rules and then Texas does their own rules, well, it's just going to be so confusing. We're not going to be able to figure it out. How will we ever be able to navigate this patchwork of laws? It's going to slow down AI, and they claim, well, this is going to prevent us from beating China to the race to 5G, the race to 6G, the race to AI, the race to the biodigital convergence, the race to technocracy. Oh, it's such bullshit, guys, because in reality, the people who actually control things, the people who control the pyramid of power, they control China and Russia and the United States. So don't buy into this whole idea that we need to beat China, because otherwise, if China wins, it's going to lead to technocracy. And I'm sure the Chinese citizens are being told the same thing. China needs to beat the U.S. to the race to AI. Otherwise, if the U.S. wins and it's U.S. dominance, that's bad for us. They're all working towards technocracy. Don't fool yourself. The order also directs federal agencies to look into withholding funding for states that pass their own laws. Oh, that's a way to threaten people. And ask the White House advisors on technology to draft new legislation that would formalize the preemption of state laws through Congress. So right now, this is just an executive order, but they're also saying, let's go ahead and pass some laws, because that's not enough. The executive order is not enough. Let's pass laws that will prevent this from happening. The order says, quote, until such a national standard exists, however, it is imperative that my administration takes action to check the most onerous and excessive laws emerging from the states that threaten to stymie innovation. It singles out a Colorado law that seeks to protect its citizens against discrimination by algorithms that the tech industry lobbyists have targeted. During the signing ceremony, of course, Trump is surrounded by his big technocrats, as you can see here, Howard Lutnick, David Sachs, and of course, Ted Cruz getting in on the action. It says, during the signing ceremony, Trump said AI was already leading to medical breakthroughs and that the U.S. needed a thriving industry to compete with China. He also said endangering the industry's growth could hurt the economy. Oh, man. And you have a couple of examples of some Republicans who have been trying to regulate AI for the safety of their people. Not saying that they're perfect angels, but they've been at least trying to do something. Republican figures like Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri have pushed back against the White House moves to use federal legislation to block or preempt state laws on AI. In addition to pointing out that the longstanding GOP tradition of defending states' rights to govern themselves, they argue that many Americans are concerned about AI's impact on jobs, the potential dangers to children, and its role in driving up electricity prices, not to mention damage to the environment, sucking up all the water that's going to be needed as they build these massive data centers. The companies are spending hundreds of billions of dollars to construct power-hungry data centers to support their AI ambitions, which some say is going to strain the electric grid. And as I said, will also suck up a lot of water and damage local communities by taking their water. Trump has shot back and said that the patchwork of state laws might endanger the U.S.'s ability, blah, blah, to compete with China. So this is just picking up on trends that have been happening for a while now that I've been reporting on. Here's another article, States Defiant in the Face of Trump's AI Executive Order. Let's go ahead and get that one opened up real quick. And then also I'll point out too that I have been reporting at this at the Last American Vagabond, showing how AI and big tech firms are winning under the Trump administration. So it says here, states are forging ahead with AI laws despite Trump's new executive order aimed at reining them in. What they're saying, policymakers behind key state AI bills have scoffed at Trump's orders, and some have vowed to bring legal action. That's what I was talking about. California State Senator Scott Weiner authored the state bill AI bill SB 53, says it's absurd for Trump to think he can weaponize the DOJ and commerce to undermine states' rights. New York State Assembly member Alex Bors, behind another bill in New York, says Trump is, quote, throwing a door wide open for an out-of-control AI development and that Congress needs to put guardrails on it before it's too late. As we mentioned, Ron DeSantis is speaking up against this. You also got Utah Governor Spencer Cox, who called for a MAGA-backed alternative that would protect kids and America's competitiveness. But most of these things are being ignored. And in fact, even Steve Bannon, who, I'm not a huge fan of him in a lot of ways, but he's calling out Trump for this. A major MAGA voice told Axios that AI czar David Sachs is, quote, completely misleading the president on preemption, the preemption bill, basically. And this idea that they need to preempt states' rights. And then, of course, you got Democrats. You got Senator Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee, Republican, fought against congressional efforts for a state AI moratorium and has been vocal about protecting kids and artists online, says that she will work with the president to draft the federal framework called for in the order. So some people are speaking out. Some people are preparing to sue him. But I wanted to point out how this article I wrote last week, I touched on this. When I recorded my show last week, my article wasn't out, but I told you guys about this, how Trump's FCC is seeking to strip even more local control regarding the 5G rollout. And he's working with this man here on the left side of the screen, Brendan Carr, the commissioner of the FCC. And they're doing two things. They've introduced a package of 15 different bills, which are trying to strip local power as far as the ability to stop the 5G rollout. And they're also using the FCC. They've proposed a new rule, which is called Build America, Eliminating Barriers to Wireless Deployments. And most of it does deal with 5G. But at the same time, there is this section here about AI regulation. So the FCC discusses how mobile network operators use artificial intelligence to manage the performance of their networks and ask for the public to comment about whether state and local regulations focused on AI are an effective prohibition on wireless providers' ability to provide covered service using AI technology. So basically, as part of this public comment period that I told you guys about last week, they're not only asking for the public to comment about what you think about the rules on 5G, but they're asking the public to say, what do you think about states' regulation of limiting of AI? The FCC appears interested in preempting or overriding state and local AI regulations as part of their effort to advance 5G and 6G networks. And so that ties in perfectly with what Trump is doing here with his executive order, because he's issuing the executive order. He's asking Congress to start passing laws that are going to restrict states' rights as far as AI goes. And at the same time, the FCC is introducing a package of bills which is going to advance 5G and 6G and limit local power over that. And they're asking the public to comment on whether or not they're okay with the restricting AI